My name is Kebokile Dengu-Zvobgo. It feels strange introducing myself to you, Gail. I am the Associate Dean for International Programs here at Pitzer College, and I also teach in the area of gender and feminist studies. My biggest personal passion is to ensure that Pitzer students, before they graduate, have an opportunity to engage difference and live in another culture. And that's what gets me up in the morning.
Wow. You know, what's really wonderful about being here with you is being back on Pitzer's campus. My name is Gail Sylvia Pullen, and I'm a graduate with the class of 1978 here at Pitzer. And before graduating, I studied abroad. And actually, before coming to Pitzer, I studied abroad. So the first time I was ever away from my family, away from a familiar community and environment and in a new culture was in high school. And it was so enriching that a big part of the decision to come to Pitzer was the independent study capacity that we had that included the rest of the world as our classroom. And taking that and really running with that, and ultimately at my sophomore year becoming a student at Waseda Daigaku in Tokyo, Japan. And that's one of those experiences that you think life is going this direction, and then you enter a different world, get exposed to other experiences and opportunities, and then the trajectory heads a different way. And the value of that is so enriching. It's not only stays throughout the lifetime journey, but it's now influencing other generations because of what you do. So thank you.
Oh, that is so nice. But maybe before we talk about the intersections of my work and your work, I would like to talk specifically about what we are doing in study abroad at Pitzer, because it's slightly different from when you were a student. I'm sure there was a little bit.
Just a few years ago.
Just a few years ago, you know, there were more. Anyway.
Okay.
You were able to do things that now maybe we wouldn't think were study abroad. We were more willing to take chances, and student would say goodbye and would see you at the end of, 6 months and hello. It was nice. But now with technology and with friendships and with the media, we find that students are making connections with their families and with us more frequently, and we are actually a little bit more aware of their pedagogy and their living situation in ways that maybe back in the day, you were on your own. So now we have a program where we have about 6 semester-long programs in the usual Nepal, in Botswana, which is changing actually to a program in Southern Africa that starts in Tanzania and then goes to South Africa and ends in Zimbabwe.
Wow.
So we've made a full circle on that particular program, because we used to be in Zimbabwe and then we went to Botswana. Now we're back in Zimbabwe, so it's very exciting. Then we have a great program in Ecuador and another in Costa Rica, where students in all these places, they take we have another one in Italy, of course. They take language, and over and above language, they take a core course that introduces them to the country and the issues in that particular country. One of the things I want to share with you, Gail, is that besides the language and the core course, students are able to take independent study projects, maybe similar to what you worked on in these independent study projects, they are able to do what they want to do. They follow their passion. So if a student is interested in videography, they follow that. If a student is interested in some form of art, they may follow that. Or if they are interested in STEM and they want to work with a scientist, they can do that. Whatever literally tickles their fancy, they can do on our Pitzer programs. We have brick and mortar around the world, and we call those places Pitzer in fill in the blank. Wow. So that's different from when you were a student. So we are very proud of those flagship programs, but I am particularly excited about over 50, yes, you heard right, over 50 exchange relationships that we have made around the world, from Argentina all the way to Zimbabwe and everything in between. And in all of them, we have the same educational philosophy where students learn the language of the culture, are culturally immersed in that community, and take classes at a regular university with regular locals. So that's fun. You didn't have that.
Oh, but what we had was still enriching.
Okay, I bet it was.
It remains
but
intact
tell me
today.
about your study abroad experience, because I find it
What's
informative.
wonderful about Pitzer is that it's a unique environment and offers these amazing experiences that we can create and build on from the relationships and access to resources, whether it's professors or peers or departments here within Pitzer. But then we're a part of another consortium, which is all the other colleges here.
Yes.
So the Waseda program, the year that I went, which was in 75, 76, was a part of the Pomona College program, relationships. And I had not studied the language before going, so it was kind of rare and unusual that I would get accepted to go. And I can't help but think in retrospect that it may have been the prior high school study abroad experience that gave them the confidence to give me, to include me in the absence of the language. But we got there, we were assigned, and there were other participating universities. So that's why for me there's a strong affiliation with USC, for example. Yeah. I met those students while I was studying in Japan at Waseda. Okay. And we were assigned to host families, and we studied at Waseda Daigaku, but we were in the International Student Division. And then those students who were fluent or more fluent and excelled in Japanese had access to other classes. Ours were primarily the first semester in English, and then by second semester more immersion in Japanese within our classes. But because I was living with a family, and in my case an older couple, their emphasis was I had to learn things the traditional way. So my Japanese sounds very formal when I speak to people, and they're always surprised. And my writing is like, it was because I had to go home every night after I got the train and just write hiragana and katakana over and over. And my Japanese mom would say, no, do it again, and take a big sheet of paper. But those kinds of immersions into the culture within a family context developed not only a character, but also an appreciation for intergenerational learning. Yes. While I was there, I also was a part of, I'm a Christian, so the other Christians I met tended to go to English-speaking churches, English-speaking services in Japan. Okay. I went to a Chinese church. Okay. And was a part of a Chinese congregation and so warmly embraced and welcomed. And again, when you think that life is going one direction and then it goes another, and then it goes another.
Chinese church in Japan.
Yeah, and then to go back to Japan for the first time just 2 years ago, and to see and to be at Waseda during graduation day, and the kind of reception that their department gave the group of us coming back. and to look at the changing demographics of just Tokyo itself and at Waseda, and to know that I fit so well in not just one culture, because I felt like I was back at home, but then within Chinese culture as well. And I think that kind of experience, you can't put a value on it. Now, it doesn't work for everyone, and I think sometimes we have this assumption that everybody should go abroad, everybody should travel, and yes, everybody should move outside their comfort zone. But if we go with closed minds, it's not doesn't serve us well. We end up misrepresenting not only ourselves and our family, but actually an institution or a nation. And so learning how to be diplomatic and still be able to be open and still confident with who we are and who we're not. And it's stayed with me. Yeah.
That's beautiful to hear that. Sitting in this chair from a study abroad professional's point of view, I'm like, yes, this is why we do what we do, because going abroad truly transforms lives, and it makes our alums to become global citizens and be comfortable and go home. Anywhere in the world.
Anywhere in the world.
Home is not where they started from.
Right.
Home is maybe where they end. Home is everything in between. And I like to hear that. And when I think about our 139 students last year who went to 39 countries.
Wow.
I'm excited because for them they have 39 new homes. And I like the idea of a home, because a home, you are not trying to be special, you are not trying too hard to be what you are not. You kick off your shoes and you are you.
I had more exposure to global citizenship while living in Japan than I had experienced at that time and point in America. And it's because a nation like Japan is an island, and so the people who I was meeting, and then again, I at that time, it's more common now, but at that time there weren't many Black people on the train. There weren't many Black Americans, and there weren't many Black Americans speaking Japanese, and there weren't many Black Americans living in Seijo Gakuin-mai, and there weren't many Black Americans going to Waseda Daigaku. So I would get a lot of curious looks and attention, and also how I learned to respond to that and not misinterpret it as people staring because I'm something strange. They were staring also because their curiosity wanted them to encourage them to want to learn about me. And so I ended up becoming, the host family I stayed with used to tell me, don't talk to strangers. Japanese girls don't talk to strangers. I thought, well, I'm not Japanese. I talk to everybody. Like, don't talk to strangers. But the last week I was with them, they said, we're going to give you a going away gift. And we were trying to figure out what it would be. And we think for you, the best gift would be for you to have a sayonara party and invite all the strangers you met while you're on the train. And sure enough, it looked like the United Nations at their home, because I learned more about Africa while living in Japan, because I was meeting people from Africa. I learned my best friends were from India and China. And so there we go. And then the Americans, and then my roommate was Korean. And her roommate at her boarding school was Grace Kelly's daughter or someone. And so the exposure and education across just culture, but also social and economic boundaries has actually shaped a lot of what I do now and have done throughout. But it's just kind of interesting how all these dots start to connect, but we have no awareness of it when we're in it. And so even in business, I had, during the late 80s to the mid 90s, Gary and I we were the largest minority-owned commercial brokerage firm in the state of California. I met Gary Yee, in a class at Pomona College.
Is that right?
He's my son's godfather now, but who would have known then that that's what it would evolve to. But I ended up, before we opened that firm, I was working in, again, a traditional white, male-dominated, affluent part of the commercial real estate sector. But my self-confidence, even though it may not have been as strong as it feels now, but there was a sense of grounding that I didn't have to prove myself to anyone else because I'd already been exposed to so much more in terms of other cultural environments where I could just be me. And so in that business, starting out, one of the biggest clients, besides the state of California, but one of the biggest clients I landed, I never met them. To this day, we've never met. And it was because they heard I went to Waseda Daigaku. And they were a Korean-based firm with their headquarters in Tokyo.
Okay.
And I got to represent them because I'd taken the chance and had the courage and stepped out on faith to go to a place that I had not been before, that had been a part of my dreams. And
That's
so
amazing.
I think I could just build on that, from the study abroad in high school to study abroad, and then to how we raised our own children, and then to the work that I do with Girls Fly.
Right,
It all comes back to what you do.
Yes, yes. Actually, maybe let's talk a little bit more about Girls Fly, because I'm really interested in our conversation and what you and I are going to do moving forward in not just study abroad. We do that very well at Pitzer. By the way, we are up there. We send around 60% of our students participate in study abroad, as you know. But even the 40% who stay back home here have a study abroad experience, and I'll tell you how. We have international students from all over the globe coming to Pitzer College. So if the mountain won't come to Mohammed, guess what Mohammed does?
Just
goes to the mountain. And so this school feels like a United Nations, and sometimes walking across campus in the morning and I hear different languages and I turn and I know that this is how I would like to see the world we live in, where there is engagement of difference, where difference is normalized. And I think at Pitzer we do that very well. However, let's talk about Girls Fly, because I think that program is something that really is very exciting for me, and this is why I am willing to support you in this effort. Can you tell us what that is all about?
And I'm really appreciative to President and Mrs. Oliver and to you because you immediately got it. You got it beyond just the program itself, but the bigger opportunity and what that not only CAP is doing, but how that can also grow the presence and influence of Pitzer so naturally and ornately. I don't know about ornately, but just so naturally. Girls Fly is a nonprofit that was strategically designed as a nonprofit that basically reflects my life on steroids, jammed into a day's experience. We work with women and girls of all ages, all economic groups, diverse women with disabilities, women who have been in the military, women who are new immigrants, women and girls who have aged out of the foster care system, women who are in recovery programs, but they're re-entering society because they've healed, whether the recovery is from abuse, domestic abuse, or substance abuse. We partner with entities such as Home Depot. We do Girls Fly with a lot of women in elected office as a way to partner with them to promote and engage to advance their women and girls initiatives. So we create multiple experiences that basically fall under 4 general categories: arts, athletics, aviation, and equestrian. And then we have these subcategories that happen. Along the lines, we've had, let's take the First Lady of Belize and Girls Fly Belize. We had 3,000 girls with her over in her country over 3 days. I think she and we appeared on every morning talk show, like the equivalent of our Good Morning America, for her to talk about what her vision and dreams were for the women, her women and girls, and then how Girls Fly was helping to advance that. So we believe that there's value in the sacred soft spaces of what women and girls dream of doing.
Right.
And defining ourselves and being trained to always define ourselves based on what we do isn't necessarily defining who we are. So what I do, I might be a mechanic, or I might be a stay-at-home mom, or I might be a PhD in astrophysics, but there's this other part of us that has these other dreams and aspirations that we're trying to also find value with.
Yes.
And sometimes women can't necessarily connect the dots between that and financial sustainability. Right. So the arts is one example.
Way. Yes.
So in our Girls Fly experiences, we create a safe space to believe again and to see how those dots can be connected by bringing mentors, we call them dream releasers, to them in these experiences so that they can see and hear that they're not alone, that I've had that same dream. This is where I started. This is how I got there. And this is why I know and value your dream and your ability to do the same. So don't give up on that. Yeah. You have to know you're not invisible. Yeah. And to do it in such a way that there are pathways to college.
Yes. That's
such as Pitzer,
even more.
And you can see and experience the value of who we are in those dreams within both a local experience and a global. So whole living globally and locally with personal impact is what led to the Girls Fly Pitzer College, that conference that we had here in April. Yes. And we did it intentionally to be intergenerational leadership, because there's discussion, there's interaction, there's wisdom, there's learning, there's resource share, sharing and mentorship.
Yeah.
And so we did it here at Pitzer because of what you do, because of the experiences that I've had, and then to introduce our community partners, in this case from the high schools, to incorporate a pathway to college toward those dreams, and to know that locally, here's a resource for you.
Gail, what I really like about this Girls Fly program is that we can partner with study abroad at Pitzer in such seamless ways, because we believe in global local education. We have been able to work with students right here on this campus. You work with mentors from here in this community, and those mentors, when they go abroad, can continue that as part of, remember I spoke about independent study projects earlier on, and so all these opportunities for independent study projects are available for our students to fly with them. And I want you to speak specifically to what you are doing in Botswana and Zimbabwe, because over this summer, I was able to travel to those two countries, and I met incredible young women who I want to be part of Girls Fly and also participate in our study abroad program. So study abroad and Girls Fly at some point
it's
would
already
be synonymous.
Happening. It's already happening.
It's already happening.
You weren't even aware. So I was looking forward to telling you about it.
Do tell.
We're actually now in week 4 of the Training the Trainers program, which the curriculum for that was developed by Trisha Morgan.
Yeah.
And based on the work that we were doing last year that led up to the conference. And so we now have Farida was an exchange student here from Niger.
In Niger.
Also, she is studying in Paris, but she came here to study.
Yep.
Became an intern with Girls Fly, gave during the Facebook live stream in French spoke to the women in her country
Yeah,
about
in Niger.
the Girls
Yeah.
Fly experience. And now she's back at the university in Paris, and
Yeah.
there are at least 8 other countries being trained in the trainer program mentored by her.
Yeah.
Botswana and Zimbabwe, amazing ladies, absolutely amazing. They're in the Train the Trainer program, and every Friday, 8:30, a Pitzer alum who's a fellow now in community engagement, EJ, she does the connection, and we go through all the training for them so that they can now start hosting their own Girls Flight conferences in preparation for using technology to engage them in our next global conference on May 3rd, 2019. Our own student, an intern, one of Yakwana, will be in Botswana.
Yeah.
She's doing the Train the Trainer now. She will be there with them when they do their conference. Joe, who is here, is working on China and Scandinavia.
Right.
And there are others with some of the other partners that you've presented to us that will come in the Train the Trainer Girls Flight program second semester.
This is so exciting because Pitzer has always been globally minded. And to find an organization like Girls Fly that is empowering women, especially at this stage in our history, as the world and as the United States, it's so exciting. And I am very grateful for the amount of work and time, because I know it's not a walk in the park, but the amount of dedication that it takes to make sure that girls indeed do fly.
You know what's important to all of us is we all decide what's important to us and where we want to put our time and energy. And it's very gratifying to know that whatever we have in our purse or our toolbox, our resources, where there's 2 fish and 5 loaves, that we can go with what we have.
Yes.
And we don't have to have it all figured out. You know, if we just show up with an open heart that's non-judgmental, we will find, and the world will see, that there is leadership capabilities, there's so much wisdom and knowledge and skills and resources within all human beings, but in our case, we're focused on bringing that, kind of excavating that to the surface with women and girls. And what's really also important is that without it being a spoken message, the evidence speaks for itself, that from women and girls of color in particular, you know, white is a color too, so that's why we want Scandinavia involved, and other parts of Europe and other parts of the world are engaging with us. But we have so many resources that we often associate it with being the people who are in need. And women and girls are often in discussions associated with being in need. What Girls Fly does is actually harness the strength and the wisdom and the talents that we already have.
Yes.
And people need to see, and will see, and are seeing and experiencing, that come from the least expected places and people. And that's what's beautiful about the women in particular, Botswana and Zimbabwe, for example, because there can be a power outage there, and those ladies will get on that call. They will find a way somewhere, somehow, to be on there and to bring their resources, their knowledge, their mentors into the global conversation, so that we're learning from each other, both one-on-one, but also globally. And the power of technology and social media to help advance that, we can just show up with what we have and help other people, and actually end up helping ourselves. You know,
that's wonderful. And I just want to say that this is really an amazing thing that you do, and Pitzer is very grateful, and our study abroad programs will be richer for partnering with
I appreciate you. I appreciate you and everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.